I just created a new empty directory to hold this new Phoenix LiveView project. There's nothing in it. Just for the sake of completeness, I was also just looking at the rules that I had put into Windsurf when I was working on a Flask project. Some of these rules may have been in conflict with my attempt to use Elixir. I had in here that you're an expert Python, Flask, and Bootstrap developer. I put a pound sign in here. I think this should act as a comment. I'm not sure though, so I'm going to delete it instead. I have now you are an expert Elixir, Phoenix, and Bootstrap developer. Maybe that will help. I also have all your code must sanitize user input on the client and server side. I noticed it was doing that in my last video. I wasn't sure why, but I think it was reading from these rules, so that mystery is solved. Related to that, all fields must have reasonable size limits and exceptions on the client and server side. All the code must be responsive, ensuring that it displays and works properly across mobile, tablet, and desktop. Then I also have the project will be using jQuery. I'm going to remove that. I don't think jQuery is used in Phoenix, so I don't want to confuse anything. I'm going to leave this though. I do not want you to use any inline styles. All CSS should be in CSS files like style.css. So I will save this and we'll leave that alone and we'll go from there. So going back to this cascade view on the right, I want to find the initial prompt I was using for Phoenix for my last video. I'm going to go all the way to the top of this, I guess. Yep. Okay, so I started with this. I'm going to make a new chat. Okay, so starting a new conversation. So I would like you to create a modern to-do list application using Elixir and Phoenix, but I'm going to add LiveView here. I want this to start with LiveView because I think that's a great feature. I want it built from the ground up with that feature. Use SQLite as the database. Again, I believe it defaults to Postgres. I don't want to get into the complexity of installing another database. SQLite is fine. Generate an appropriate .gitignore file. Use a virtual environment as needed for library management. I'm going to leave it at that, and let's see where this takes us. As a reminder, I'm using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Okay, starting out by setting up the project structure. Create a Phoenix LiveView project with LiveView enabled. It's passing a flag of live and passing a flag of database SQLite 3. Looks like a decent start. Saying this directory exists, I want to continue. Not sure why. So again, I'm not seeing the interactive terminal that I was seeing during my last project. I want to say yes here, maybe. Okay, yeah, there's a quirk going on with the interactive terminal. When I was using this for my Flask project, whatever was shown here was also reflected in another terminal on the left, so I could view it and I could interact with it. It's kind of working out, but it's not as clear. I'm just going to say Y here, and hopefully that reflects in this little window. Yes, it does. It's not as clear now though, but I guess that's working, so I'll leave that. There's also a compile step, which might take a while. I can hear my CPU fan coming on too, so it's doing something. We're almost there. I guess this is from Phoenix telling me what to do. I want AI to do it though. So let's create the database schema for our to-dos. I'll create a migration for the to-dos table. And I guess that's kind of reflecting what's being done in here. Some ecto stuff, so I'll accept this. Creating a migration file with the appropriate field constraints. Okay, very nice. Here's the table we're using. We'll accept all that. That's nice. It's also creating indexes. It's a good touch. Okay, we'll accept that. Okay, this looks like some of the logic for creating, updating, and deleting. We'll keep all these. Now the stuff under this live directory, I believe that's that LiveView stuff. I'm not familiar with this language at all yet, so I won't pretend I know what all this is doing. You could kind of get some hints though by reading through the code. Handling events, sockets, sending a flash message. So this looks like sending stuff over an open WebSocket to the client, I assume. All looks reasonable, so I'll accept it. This is more live stuff. This looks like markup for the page. Okay. Some routes, maybe. Okay. There's 3 lint errors that it's auto-fixing. Doing some imports for Tailwind and our custom CSS. I should know what defp is. I saw this mentioned the other day, but I don't know. These are functions, defp, I'm not sure. I could probably ask AI, but I don't want to interrupt it right now. And some more CSS stuff, sure. Now it wants to create the database and start the server, so let's see how far we can get here without spiraling. Okay, again, this is reflected down here. Ran a migration so my database now should have some data in it, I hope. Creating tables. Let me just see if I can find that database. Take a peek at what's in there. I don't expect any data, but I should have a couple of tables. Yep, the migrations, sequence, and to-dos. So we do have some table structures in there. That's good. Now let's start the Phoenix server. You got some red stuff here. This is looks like it's just a warning. Something about a bootstrap error. I removed the bootstrap line from the rules though, so I don't know what any of this is. It says it's optional. Not going to worry about it. Migrations are up. Running with Bandit on port 4000. Rebuilding. I don't know why you have to rebuild, but it says it's running. Let's take a look at what it looks like in the browser. So we'll go to port 4000. Ooh, starting out with an exception. Fetch 2. I'm not sure we're trying to fetch anything, but let's go back and let's feed this exception into the chat. And it wouldn't be that easy, it never is. I'm just going to highlight this, chat, hit enter, and hopefully it could debug with just that information. It says it's occurring because we're trying to use change set as a map with a bracket notation in our template, but change sets don't implement the access behavior. I have no idea what that is. Hopefully you could clean it up without a lot of grief. Alright, so we're removing some change set stuff. Again, I don't know what any of this is, so I can't speak intelligently, and I won't pretend. I'll just accept it. Now it says rebuilding. I didn't see it explicitly try to restart anything, though. Let me see if I refresh here. Oh, okay, great. So it did not have to restart. And here's my to-do list. I don't have a new button, but when I just go here, it says I could create a new one. So let's add something. Okay, it says it was created successfully. I don't love the UI. It looks like it's just adding them to the bottom. I would have preferred add new button with the modal, but whatever. These fields also did not clear out. That's kind of odd. Just going to put some junk in here. Okay, so I have two to-dos. So I'm just going to open a second tab here. I want to see if LiveView is already working. With LiveView, any client that's viewing the data should be able to see live updates. Think of a chat room or chatting with an LLM where you might get a data feed in real time without having to refresh the entire page. So my first client here, I'm going to add a third. And when I hit add to do here on this second tab, I want to see if the third shows up automatically. Add to do, I have third, second, first, and on my other tab, I do not. So that tells me that LiveView is not working, unfortunately. So if I refresh this, then I expect to see it. There it is. So I'm going to go into AI and say, it doesn't look like LiveView is working. Please fix, and we'll see what happens from there. Alright, so it's saying we need to set up PubSub to broadcast changes to all connected LiveView clients. Let me make the necessary changes. Conceptually, that sounds correct. I was kind of hoping it would have done that to begin with. Let's see what happens. First, let's modify the to-dos content to broadcast changes. Okay, so you do have some subscribe stuff. Broadcast change, okay. That's interesting. So when you create a to-do, it's going to send broadcast change, which is sending the information from that topic. If you delete a broadcast change and on an updated broadcast change. Okay, so this all looks reasonable. And then in to-do live.ex, so I've got some more socket stuff. Okay, sure. Okay, and it explains the changes it made. Now when you make changes, the change is saved to the database. A message is broadcast to all subscribed LiveView processes. Each LiveView process receives the message and updates its state. The UI automatically updates in all open tabs. Let me restart the server. Okay, interestingly, now it wants to restart before it did not have to. I'm not sure what the rules are with Elixir and Phoenix. Okay, now I see it doing stuff that is not... Okay, so now I have two terminal windows, and it was doing the same thing with Flask. It just seems to be a little Windsurf quirk, so not a big deal. Okay, server's up running again. Let's see if I'm going to refresh both of these. Okay, so I'm going to add a fourth one here. Okay, it's reflected with my spelling error. Now if I go to this second tab, well, there it is. Pretty cool. So I did not have to refresh anything. Now on this second tab, if I delete fourth, well, let me update it actually, and can I edit this? No. But I will, well, actually it looks like if I check it, that marks it complete, and it dropped to the bottom. If I go back to this first tab, same thing is reflected there. Pretty cool. And if I delete it in this tab, after the confirmation, I jump back here, and it's gone. So LiveView is working beautifully. If we look under the hood here, just want to see what the network traffic looks like. I'm just going to refresh this. You're going to see some polling here from the WebSocket. This is kind of how it works behind the scenes. You don't see, it's not polling, so you don't see it constantly asking. I believe it's up to the server to send it new information when it has it. So if I go to this tab and let's create a fifth. Okay, so our last message in here was a Phoenix heartbeat status okay. I guess that's the server saying it's still up. When I add this fifth, I expect to see a new line in here that pushes the data up. And yes, here you go, right here. So we had the heartbeat, and then this line here is the data that it sent up. So it didn't just send us new data in JSON format. It actually sent us the HTML, which was surprising. It works kind of similar, I think, to old Rails, a Rails library named Mustache, I believe, something like that. I think that's how it used to work. So it's not just the data that comes down; it's the entire markup. You might like that, you might not like that. I don't know, but it works. So, since I clicked on that, if I pull this up. Okay, so this is what it sent down. So it looks like maybe it sent down all of the rows for each entry in order to rebuild that list. Okay, so that's pretty cool. This actually worked a lot better than I thought it would. Didn't have to do too much back and forth with AI. I'm actually pretty impressed with this. You know, as far as I understand it, if I go directly to the database and make a change, that change will not be reflected in either one of these tabs. If you remember with the last code update, there's actually Phoenix code or Elixir code that pushes the change up to each of the clients. So a change directly in the database, I don't think this is going to work, but let's just confirm that. Okay, here's my database with my list of to-dos. I'm going to change the title of fifth. I'm just going to change this to the word database in the description and hit write changes. Now I don't think that's going to trigger any change here. No, it did not. So if I refresh it though, now I should see fifth and database, and I do. Same on this other client here. It did not get that change because it was directly in the database. So that's not that big of a deal for our purposes here, but If you have a more complex application where you have maybe other applications changing the data in the database, I'm assuming there is some way to do something in an Elixir or Phoenix terminal to call the code that actually makes that change. Remember, this is a broadcast change. So you would have to make your changes in the database, drop down to an Elixir terminal somehow, and send this broadcast change if you're working directly in the database. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to stop the video here. I think Phoenix is pretty damn cool. I'd like to dig in a little bit and learn a little bit more about it. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Please like and subscribe and comment. Thank you.